here's a thought. You have a Kentley tenor ukulele, right?
Yes. Okay. So before you install this one, we can try a practice run.
Yeah, on your ukulele.
On my ukulele, fine. Okay. So
You know, it's you before me.
yes. Okay. So I will practice that one. How to install a piezo pickup on your ukulele. If you want to make your instrument sound louder, you would need to amplify it. And to play your instrument through an amp, your instrument will have to have a pickup. On an acoustic instrument, what you would need is a piezo pickup, which, unlike those on an electric guitar that works on magnets, relies on a physical contact with your strings when you hit them. Piezo, from the Greek word to press, is the type of pickup that relies on pressure. There are two types of piezo, passive and active. Passive is when the pickup line goes straight to the amp, while active goes through a preamp in the body. For passive, you just need a socket and a piezo wire. Best to have the mini mono jack type on both. You also need to drill a hole, estimate about 12 millimeters, and install the socket, while the piezo wire goes under the saddle. If you want to make it active, you just use an acoustic guitar pedal or preamp that is separate. For active, the preamp is built into the instrument. You just need a set of fresh batteries. This is what we are going to install today. First, you lay out all the materials you will need, including the tools. A piezo set, long tweezers, drill bits from 6mm to 12mm, reamer drill bit, which you can use to manually enlarge the holes, rounded file, very narrow guitar cable or string, 12mm wrench or long nose pliers, caliper or ruler, a lot of masking tape, and a working mat to protect your instrument while it's on the table, and you might even need double-sided tape just to mount those wires neatly inside the instrument. Begin by looking inside the instrument and make sure there's a base block at the butt where the socket will hold well. Usually, most instruments do have this. Find the middle line at the base of the instrument and mark it with masking tape. Best to use two so that you know where exactly the middle is. This also serves to protect the finish from cracking badly in the edges while you drill. Now you measure the thickness of the body at the point of the center tape and mark the middle. Take the socket, unscrew the input end, leaving just the bolt that will hold it from the inside. Measure the diameter of the thickest part, usually 12mm. Use a small drill bit to start, about 6 to 8mm, so that you don't easily crack the instrument. It depends on what size of reamer you are using. Do not drill directly with the 12mm straight on, otherwise you will be cracking the finish, especially if it's glossy. Now just ease your way into it, just like life. Once you have a pilot hole, you can use a reamer tool, whether manual or with a drill. I prefer a drill because the high speed can take out material really fast, but with manual you can be more precise with the control. Just be careful as the uke is thin and may crack easily. I also suggest you don't drill the whole hole at one go. Do it in increments and try to fit the socket in from time to time until it goes all the way. When the full socket can fit through the hole, you can now run the slim guitar cable or string through the hole and pull it out from the sound hole with tweezers if need be. If your socket has a small hole in the outer shaft, then you can tie a string there. And if you are installing a passive piezo where the piezo line goes straight to the socket, you will have to install the piezo wire under the saddle first, so that when you install the socket, the wire goes with it already. Otherwise, with active piezo, most of the time, the piezo connects with the preamp box that is already wired to the socket. If that is the case, go ahead and install the socket and hook up the piezo later. At this point, you can take the tape out, but you might need to tape up the areas around the hole with wider tape to protect it from other tool marks. Also, you can tape parts of the body so that you can protect the finish, especially with thin matte finishes. Now that you have made a hole, the next step is to pull out that socket that is connected to the preamp out of the hole that you just made. To do that, you hook up the instrument cable to the socket, making sure that the bolt and the washer is secure on the inside end of the socket. If you are using the string, just tie the string on that small little hole in the socket and pull it out. Now pull back the cable and run the socket through the hole. There are two diameters on this type of socket, where the other serves as the strap button. The small diameter is where the strap button screws in, but there is a smaller bolt that should lock in first. The inner and outer bolt is what actually holds it in place, sandwiching the wood in the middle. To make sure that it will be tight, do not pull the socket's thicker body all the way through. Adjust the inner bolt so that when you pull the socket, the thicker body will be a few millimeters from the opening. If the bigger groove grows out of the hole, the outer bolt won't have anything to hold on to, and it will just rotate as the jack is in. That hole in the socket, which you can tie a string to, can also be used as leverage for bolting the socket. Just use a small metal tool like an Allen key or a screwdriver and put it in the hole and tighten the bolt with pliers or the 12mm wrench. Make sure that the inner assembly is tight before finishing with the strap button. If successful, the strap button end will be snug and there will be no chips or cracks, and there will be no movement. Now let's install that piezo. Check the type of piezo wire. There are two kinds. One is a metal bar attached to a flexible metal wire, while the other that comes with this kit is just a flexible wire. Usually the metal bar type, issue may arise with the size of the bridge channel where the saddle rests. You might have to modify it with a file, as it is harder to file the piezo bar itself. You might end up breaking some micro connections in the bar. With the wire type, it is easier. You can just jam it into the channel. What you want to do is to end up with a whole channel filled with the wire or the bar, making sure that there are no piezo wire peeking out from either side of the saddle. This will be unattractive, and also any metal part sticking out will pick up noise and scratching when it's touched. I prefer a metal bar because the metal bar is actually a leveled plane compared to the metal wire. This will actually render the connection to the saddle easier and better, rather than having a wire that is jammed into the cavity. When drilling the hole for the piezo to go through, choose the base end position first, a few millimeters from the end of the bridge. The goal is to have more than enough surface end to end for the piezo to pick up as much. In my sample, I've left my strings so that I know exactly where it will rest. You can also drill another hole on the other end of the saddle channel to tuck in the other end of the piezo line if you have that metal wire type. However, with the piezo wound wire area that bends into the hole, it does not get as much contact with the saddle, and that portion will have less volume. This is why I prefer the bar type piezo. Use a drill bit that will fit in the channel without taking out the material from the sides. If your hole is too big, the piezo might wiggle, or worse, the hole can be seen where the saddle is back on. If you have to expand the hole, in the case of the bar type, which is usually wider and thicker, do it carefully and without using a bigger drill bit. Wiggle while drilling, preferably sideways along the lines of the channel rather than circular, to prevent the hole peeking through the saddles or enlarging the hole. You get what I mean. The key when installing a piezo is that the saddle rests as much as possible on the whole piezo line in the channel. You will have to sand down your saddle, as the piezo wire will add 2 to 3 millimeters to the height. When sanding down, I use 60 grit to take out as much material, and when possible, use a saddle tool made for this purpose. If you have precise finger control, you can also use your fingers, preferably more fingernail hold so that your fingerprints won't get sanded out. This is why most of the time we go to a professional for this kind of job. To put the piezo line in the hole, you install with the plug or open wire first. Insert the mini plug into the hole and use tweezers to reach out and pull from the sound hole. At this point, I have to remind you that if you are installing a passive piezo, you can connect the piezo line straight to the socket, especially with the plug type. Once the piezo mini plug is in, you can now connect it to the preamp or the socket through the sound hole. Do not mount the preamp. This is the part when we have to test the piezo first. Plug in the instrument and begin tapping the saddle. If the output sounds loud and consistent along the saddle, from bass to treble end, then you are good. Don't worry, we can adjust this later. What is important is there's a signal. Piezo is not magnetic, it relies on contact. So make sure the saddle is properly seated evenly throughout the channel. You might have to sand the saddle from the side or under. Most piezo bridge issues are because the saddle does not hit the piezo line properly, caught up in an uneven channel. Often they are unbalanced in the wood channel, either too loose or too tight on the sides that they won't fit perfectly. So, if all sounds good, or make a sound at least, we can now mount the preamp. This set I am using is a soundhold preamp control. The batteries are easily replaceable by reaching into the soundhold. This one uses two CR2032 batteries. Use a good one, so you can just leave it there for a few years. There are other big box type, but those require you to route big holes permanently on the sides of your instrument. This one is more practical, but the bigger ones may have built-in tuners or effects like reverb or chorus. Mounting the controls. Start with fixing the wires to the sides so that it is not a mess. You can use the clips that come with a kit or add double-sided mounting tape. You can also use zip ties. Place the controls to your preferences. The standard is upper side of the hole for easier access. Some place them on the bottom end so that they can see the controls. It is really up to you. Mount the controls and press tightly to secure it to the instrument. Now you have installed your piezo. Now tune your instrument and test if all the strings sound well. If there are uneven volumes, that can either be a cheap defective piezo wire or uneven surface connection with the saddle. You might have to make sure that the saddle is properly sanded or the bridge channel is properly routed. Unlike pre-installed factory piezos, most of the time, this kind of DIY install will need adjustment. Sit back, admire your work, smile, and drink a cold one for a relative successful build. Something you might notice with this DIY kit. There may be hum, and it may be loud. This is just part of science, because an acoustic instrument with nylon strings doesn't have the proper line for grounding, versus an electric guitar where touching the metal strings or grounding them can decrease the hum. A nylon piezo is basically an exposed microphone line. Even touching the open metal line inside the body makes a sound. It also picks up the hum. Varying brands of piezo preamp may be available to handle the hum better. They might be more expensive, and if you are like me with several electronics running around, hum will be everywhere. Some types of preamps I have less hum, while others have more. And also some amps manage the hum well. If you want to just check grounding, touch the metal strap button where the line goes. And when you do, and the ground goes through you and the hum lessens, then you know you have a grounding issue. However, like I said, unlike an electric magnetic instrument, there is no way to ground the line directly to you. It is basically open wood. You can try to cover the exposed piezo line with electrical tape or shielding tape, or you can use a very good guitar cable. But most of the time, it is the amp's fault. Use one that can manage the hum well. You can use noise gates, equalizers, DI boxes, hum destroyers. I've installed a couple of types of piezo and there are different levels of hum. You just have to work around that. Some people have even tried having a metal plate on the outside of the instrument and raising their shirts for an open skin connection. It's like having your belly out each time you play, just to prove the hum issue. But unlike an electric guitar where most of the time the player decreases the hum by resting his palm on the metal bridge or because the fret hand is already touching the strings to create the ground, a nylon instrument may have hum.
Hey, we're back. And we have something special now. After
that long process of putting a hole into my ukulele. But if you notice, Joe, you barely notice any changes to our instrument. I mean, this is definitely different from your ukulele, but given that it's a similar spec to what you installed, they should sound similar. So now what I did is to install that same piezo system we were mentioning into my own Pampanga-made, Philippine-made Kentley Morales tenor ukulele. Again, the piezo for the ukulele, technically you can put it on any of the sizes between soprano to baritone.
Okay, so
Here you go.
you have the thing in the sound hole here. So,
Yes, now we have a little thing on the sound hole as in our clips.
Yeah. So let me show this. No holes here.
Yes, you have maintained,
No
especially
holes
with exotic looking wood, you don't want to put any permanent holes.
So the only hole was here. So this is for you to jack in, and your strap would also attach here.
Yes. So this is a Pampanga made, nicely made ukulele, and it's basically like most ukuleles that are even the branded ones. Because I mentioned that because one thing that these the standardly made ukuleles is that they do have a block that is in the butt where you technically when you make it, that's where it joins the two sides, right?
Yeah.
So it is not too difficult to put a hole. However, some cheap ukuleles, which is a reason why you should not install on a cheap ukulele, may not have enough significant block there, which will be hard to put in a hole because once you might have splicing, cracking, and all that
so
issues.
You pointed out to me the block inside, and it was a very generous size. So it
was a very generous size to keep the strap lock stable as well as holding it in place. You've seen in the how to install video and how it is difficult to actually put it in.
Yeah.
Normally you bring it to a luthier, which we will discuss later if you do like the service that I have provided.
But okay, how does it sound now? Nah, come on.
All right, okay.
Come on.
Yeah, plugging it in.
Yeah. plug it
Okay,
in, plug
so
it in.
with that, I have also built my DIY amplifier. No, just kidding. I could, but I didn't want to. So now we move up to the sound sample. We have plugged in a active piezo running on batteries. We will run it through a acoustic amp, the Amun, the little small tiny amp, which is a very nice thing to pair off with your ukulele. And I will demonstrate to you how it will practically sound on your own. All right, let's move up to that sound sample. Okay, so Joe, that was how a standard priced ukulele pickup, which I guess, again, the pickup is, the whole set will knock you off around, less than $30 depending on where it comes
I'd
from.
like to install one on my Kentley, but I think I'd want to, no offense to you, my friend, go to someplace else to get it installed.
Which brings us to another episode. That's a good thing, Joe, because we also would like to feature some of our partner luthiers and some of our partner builders for future episodes. So for your build, since you'd rather have somebody else make it for you.
No, it's a field trip. It's a field trip.
All right. Yeah, I got some friends. I gotta call a friend. Hey, what's the answer to this one?
Okay, so guys, you gotta look forward to a future video. We're gonna install something similar to my Kentley Morales tenor
and we
ukulele.
will compare how the thing sounds. Well, okay. Normally it would sound the same because it's just the same piezo pickup unless you manage to buy.
Let's see if they do it differently from the way you did.
Yes, actually, that is one thing that we would like to suggest to you is that if you actually want to do the DIY, we provide you with the information if you're confident enough with your tooling and etc. But with the tools that you've seen me use for this DIY, I'm pretty sure that you will bring it to a very experienced hands. Especially if you have a pickup that's more than $200, which is the average price of a foreign branded pickup. For this one, this is a nice experiment. And again, we would like to encourage you that if you are going to experiment and would like to try out which pickup sounds well and nice, I do suggest that you use the sound hole because that is not a permanent mark. Once this whole thing, you want to take it out, the least you get at least is a strap button. And you can also put passive and just take out the preamp from the hole without damage to your ukulele.
Hey guys, at this point, I'd like to encourage everyone to please like our video, subscribe to us. It really keeps us going.
Yes, and we are going and going and going with more episodes, right?
Yes.
Yes, we're looking forward to about maybe 2 years or more. So just keep on that thumbs up.
Yep.
And like it twice. Use your other accounts. I don't know. That's a secret with these channels.
Okay, guys. Okay, we look forward to seeing you again.
Yes, and we're looking forward to providing you with more info on Jock and his new Piezo ukulele in the future.
So much homework.
Yes. See you guys.